really straightforward, the boxes, and not much in it because they were straightforward where this means this word. So please keep up with those words because now today we're actually going to do something quite different. The part that is different about this is that we're learning how to deconstruct the letters, the words, into a conjugation. So we're learning how the Arabic structure of words and the conjugation of words actually works to make certain words. But in this, you would actually have to memorize a certain pattern. And in order to start with that, you would have to pretty much keep up with that pattern, and the pattern will actually give you the ability to deconstruct a word and therefore deconstruct a whole sentence and be able to build those words. If you're able to deconstruct, then you're going to be able to build. It's that simple. If you're able to deconstruct, you're going to be able to build. So the first piece of it is I want to learn how to deconstruct the rhythm. There's a certain rhythm that you have to memorize. There's a certain pattern that you have to keep up with. Can everybody hear me? That's really strange. People are telling me that they can't hear me. Not sure why. Can you hear me now? Let's see. Because I have myself unmuted. So just making sure if the people on Facebook can hear me. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, great. So having that being said, when we look at, perfect. Okay, good. Yeah, aren't we on box 14? We are? Yeah, so, okay, you're right, Hamza. Thanks for correcting me. Yeah, we needed to finish box 14. Okay. So let me right now continue, I guess, with box 14 really quick. It's pretty straightforward. And with box 14, let's just do a couple of things here. It's basically talking about a number of different sides. And then we're going to get to that rhythm and patterns. We'll talk about that, inshallah. So you've got box 14. You've got house means bait. The word bait can mean house and can also mean a chamber or can mean a room. So a house, room, chamber, and the plural of it is buyut. And the dar or diyar. So the dar would also be the place of residence. And the diyar would be the area of residence. So basically that territory of residence, let's say it that way. So dar and diyar can either refer to the territory or can refer to the particular home that you're residing in. So either a geographical territory or can be the actual place. Dunya means world. But here's the thing, is that the word dunya can also mean the lowest ends of something. Dunya can also mean the lowest level and can also mean and refer to the world that we live in, which is the life that we're living in. Sabil and subul. Sabil and subul. So sabil, well, the word sabil actually has multiple meanings, but sabil commonly appears in the Quran to mean way or path. So a path that you take. And subul would be the plural of that word sabil. All right. But one thing is that sabil can also mean a spring of water or a river. Yeah, well, mainly a spring of water. And sirat, a path, sirat. And the difference between sirat and sabil in Arabic is one thing, but in the Islamic term, sirat can mean that specific path of guidance, and can also mean the path that leads to either Jannah or is on the top of hellfire, right? So that would be the sirat. Alam or alamin, all right? Alam would mean world. So one world, or when we say Rabbil Alameen, alam, that would be the plural. So one is alam, all right? There's one alam, one world, and alameen is worlds, probably the world of plants, the world of humans, and who knows, maybe we'll find world of aliens too. Fitna. Fitna. Fitna is a trial. What is a trial? A trial would mean a challenge. So when we say fitna, it can be in a negative way, and it can be in a de facto, kind of like a factual thing in the world. So when we say fitna, that a person can face a challenge, but the challenge is not always a negative thing, because the challenge is in challenging people is one way to actually help them improve, or sometimes it's something to help you develop new ways. So it's not always, khair can be a fitna. It doesn't mean that you're going to fall in it, but it can be khair meaning good things, maybe money, maybe good health, maybe intelligence. It can be a fitna in where it can be tricky, it can be misleading, and that would be that fitna of it. It can be misleading, it can be tricky, it can take you into different areas. So that's the word of fitna, and where it can lead you into different corners. So you have to make sure that you are not that you're not actually falling in this. So it's just an eye opener. Fitna. Qarya or qura. Qarya would simply mean a village. Here it says town, but qarya is more of a village. All right, qarya and qura. All right, qura. By the way, in the Quran, the word qarya actually appears a number of times. And when we look at, well, qura or qarya, that root. When we look at that word, we have to understand that it doesn't necessarily mean a small village. So I just put in the word qura on to search for it in the Quran. It actually appeared 19 times. How many times does it say here? 57. Here it says 19 times. So maybe it depends on the word and and and, and its place of speech. But the word qura or qarya, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean village per se, but it can also mean any place of residence, any place or a geographical area, or a particular territory that is combining a group of people. So it can be a town, it can be a village, it can be a city, it can be a country. So it's a certain territory. So when the Quran talks about qarya or qura, it doesn't necessarily mean a village per se, as much as it means it's a specific territory that combines a group of people. Mal and amwal. Mal and amwal. Mal, wealth. But you got to keep in mind that mal and amwal. So mal is basically, speaking about one type of mal, one type of wealth, but amwal is talking about different types of wealth. Now, when we speak about different types of wealth, we're also talking about probably the wealth that you may have in property that you, or wealth that you may have in cash, currency, different things, or property that you may have in gold, or valuable items, etc. So that would be all considered as amwal. So when we say mal or amwal, it doesn't necessarily refer to cash only. It refers to anything of holding value. Anything that holds any value is considered mal or amwal, and that sums up into wealth. Mata'. Mata' is a provision, but when we say mata', it can be any provision. It can be any type of, here it says enjoyment, but it doesn't necessarily mean enjoyment per se. Mata' is more of any item that you use in order to bring ease in your life. So that would be mata'. It could be your car, it could be your the animals that you have, it could be your home, it could be just different swing sets around your house, whatever it is. All those are mata'. So things that you use to ease your life or to bring in more pleasure. So that would be the mata'. And the word mut'a to also mean pleasureful or something that brings in pleasure as well. Masjid, the word masjid actually comes from the root sajada, and the word masjid, if we are to put the meme in the beginning, that would make it the place where we perform sujood. So when we look at masjid, a masjid, the plural of it is masajid. Masjid is singular and masajid is plural. And here it means mosque, masjid. I did read some people were saying that mosque was a Spanish word, that it was used to, for condescending the masjid. I have no idea if that is true actually or not, but just to mention. Makan or makana. Makana is totally different, by the way, because makana is more of a person's status. So when we say makana, that's more of a status, but makan is actually the place. It could be the place metaphorically speaking, meaning status, but it usually refers to the actual literal term. So it literally means a place. It can be a geographical place. It can be probably a home, a person's home. Any makan, any place. Like I said, could be political, could be geographical place, or it can even be a place, a particular area that one may occupy. So a particular area that one may occupy, it could be, like I said, a land, a geographical area, or even a physical area that you might actually occupy. It would be considered makan. You can sit in one place, and since you are occupying that particular space, then that would mean that that's a makan. So it doesn't necessarily mean place per se. It can mean space, not space in the galaxies, but space to mean an amount that, or a size, or an area that some or one might occupy. So space. For convenience, somebody saying mata' convenience. Well, yeah, you could say convenience. For mata', a place of convenience, or things that just for convenience, just different things. I love that word. Let's go for people, and umma or and umma would mean, here they put community, but umma, any type of any type of a uh, of a union between any group of people is making them an ummah. So any group of people, any unity amongst any group of people is considered an ummah. So therefore, it's a community. That's why it's a community. It combines a group, or puts a group of people in unity, okay? And common thing between these people. That's what makes a community. A community is some common thing that certain people might be unified on, and that's what makes an ummah, to make a community. And of course, communities, here's the PL as a sign for an abbreviation for plural. So here you've got would mean communities, and the word it can refer to any group of people, whether it's a geographical group, or whether it's a group that is unified on one certain culture, one certain religion, etc. That would they would be considered ummah. So, and in any community would mean any group of people that are united on a certain cause, or on a certain purpose, or a certain type of unity, cultural, be it political, be it geographical. That type of a unity would make that ummah. So when we look at the Quran, it speaks of nations. It doesn't necessarily refer to geographical nations, but it can refer to any group of people. So nation, or here, nation or nations, or communities. قوم. Qawm is also, it's very similar to ummah, but qawm, there are some scholars that said that qawm is more referring to the men in a group. And other scholars rejected and said that qawm includes everybody within a tribe, specifically tribe. So within a group of people, within a race, within a country, etc. So the qawm would be a smaller group, in where it's probably like a tribe, a group of people. It's a smaller group than because ummah, we're talking about a common thing that unifies a group of people, but qawm would pretty much be a group of people, not necessarily united, but it is usually that there's a leader for that, the chieftain, and there's a group of people that will follow the chieftain's rules, etc. So that would make the qawm. Insan, insan is, here it says man, but I don't want you to confuse the word man to mean man, the masculine man, the gender man, but man to mean human. And I know there are people that are going to say human actually comes from the hue and the man. Let's not just go into that type of feminism that wants to separate and go into that hue women and shiro and all that stuff. No, insan just generally means the humankind, mankind. Nas, Nas are men and people. But here's one thing, is that when we say men, also meaning humankind. So Nas, it includes men, it includes women, it includes children. That can be all Nas. Nas. And it comes from al-insan as well. All right? And let's go for dhakar or dhukura or dhukur. So dhakar, that would mean the masculine side. All right, that would mean male in general. Okay, ذكر and untha. ذكر and untha. ذكر, the plural of it is dhukur. Dhukur would generally speak of male, regardless of how old or whether they had reached the age of puberty or not. So that would not involve how old they are. This is just speaking about that person is male or female. All right. And untha is female, and the plural of it is inath. Inath would mean females, and one female. So one female is untha. A plural of one female, females that is inath. Inath. Dhakar, inath. And somebody might say, what is a khuntha? All right, in the ayah, يهب لمن يشاء إناثا ويهب لمن يشاء الذكور أو يزوجهم ذكرانا وإناثا. And that would be the khuntha, although not mentioned in the Quran, but those are hermaphrodites. Those are people that have a dual sex, meaning that they have male, female glands, but that has nothing to do with transgender. Transgender is a totally different thing, so don't confuse that. The khuntha, they were naturally created with dual sex. They were naturally created having two different glands, and of course, maybe even parts of two different glands, and that is more of a genetic mutation than anything else. But in the end, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did consider, and there are certain rulings for them. This has nothing to do with transgender. These are hermaphrodites. They were born that way. This is not transgender. A transgender is somebody that is fully born and created as a female or a male, and then they would induce different hormones in order to excite different glands to work differently. So this is against the person's own nature. All right, the transgender has nothing to do with khuntha, because that's working against the nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them with. All right, khuntha is different. Abd is, or ibad. Abd is one slave. Ibad is slaves. And when we say abd, that would mean one servant, and ibad would mean plural servants. It has nothing to do with, with the idea of slavery that we have, especially in the US, anywhere, or the West in general. There's that idea of slavery and what it and all the history that it carries with it. So I would recommend reading a book. It's about slavery for Jonathan Brown. He did an outstanding job on that slavery, an outstanding job. There's also the audio for it. So listen to that. I think it's really important. And I think it's one of the best written articles on slavery, really. Anyhow, so let's go ahead for adu. Adu and a'da. Adu and a'da. Adu is one enemy. Adu. And notice that the word adu, because adu can also mean to race or compete. So when somebody competes with you, they're usually your the person that is going against you. All right. So adu is to run, adu in generally, but adu with a shadda would mean somebody that is, a competent, somebody that is competing with you. And that would be the singular part of it. And the plural of it would be a'da, enemies. So adu is one, a'da is plural, many enemies, or people that are competing with you. So that would make adu. And of course, the word adu and a'da in Islam is actually comes from the philosophy that there is truth and there is falsehood. So there is one side that's competing with another and competing with one another on certain matters. A'da is plural. Kuffar, disbelievers. Yet note, the word kuffar generally means disbelievers, but the word kuffar actually comes from the root kafara, which means to conceal. All right. The word kafara means to conceal. To conceal what? So the word 99.9% of the time in the Quran was referring to those that conceal truth. In other words, they know the truth, yet they reject it, and they chose to conceal the truth by not accepting it, by rejecting it, simple. But there is only one time that the word kuffar actually appeared to mean those that conceal seeds, which are, of course, who conceals the seeds? They're basically the farmers. Okay, those are the farmers. يعجب الكفار ليغيظ به الكفار. Although some scholars said no, يعجب الكفار actually means the actual disbelievers, the actual people that conceal the truth or reject truth. So not to say disbelievers, but it also referred to كفرنا بكم وبدا بيننا وبينكم العداوة والبغضاء. So it can also refer to anybody that conceals or rejects a matter. In most of the cases in the Quran, it is referring to those that had rejected Islam. But in one of the ayat, it actually referred to the Muslims rejecting what they are calling for. So, kafarna bikum, that we are kafirs of what you are claiming. That Muslims, that we as Muslims are kafirs of atheism, or kafirs or of idolatry, or kafirs of Christianity, or whatever it is that is not in Islam. So in other words, it doesn't always to mean to conceal or to reject truth, but it can generally mean to reject or conceal a matter. All right. So it became predominantly used to mean in the Quran, to mean those that want to conceal truth and reject truth. And that's when it actually came to mean the disbelievers, or most of the times it means those that rejected Islam. But it's really important to mention that this does not mean infidel. Infidel is a specific connotation in Christian/Western history. The word infidel cannot be a translation whatsoever to the word kuffar, because the word infidel would have a biblical term, would have a specific understanding and a connotation that had an area within the Western Judeo-Christian arena. So it does not actually mean infidel. So the word kuffar does not mean infidel. Just to keep note of that, because the word infidel, like I said, has a specific connotation that has a history and a biblical definition of what that means. Similarly, like the word kosher. Kosher in Hebrew means halal, but the word kosher in their definition of what is permissible is totally different than what the word halal would mean in a Muslim definition. In a Muslim definition, it has its own definitions of what makes something halal, has a whole different category and different items in what defines halal. So it does not have the same meaning. Mujrim comes from the root jarama, and the word jarama to actually mean to transgress. You go beyond the limit, you transgress, and therefore the mujrim, the part in where you add the mu to it, and you put the other one sukun, we're going to see that later on, that would mean the person that is committing the crime or the transgression. With the person that's committing a transgression is basically the criminal or the transgressor. And mala, this Quran appears often in the Quran, and mala would mean the chieftains and the leaders. The chieftains and the leaders within that group of people, whether it's an ummah or a qawm, and when you're talking about the mala, it's specifically talking about the main people that are in charge to dispense, to promote, to consider a certain decision which other people agree to. So that would be the mala. There would be a group of people that acted as leaders, and others have accepted their form of decision making, their form of accepting what these chieftains are saying. So that would be il-mala. Wali and awliya. Wali is one, and wali would be the somebody that is guarded, really, somebody that is guarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, and it can be also just an wali, a supporter, a guardian, a friend. So when we say for that munafiqeen are awliya for ba'da, the munafiqeen, they're supporters of each other. And just as al-mu'minun wal-mu'minat ba'duhum awliya ba'd, just as the believing men and the believing women are supporters of one another. So when we talk about wali or muwala in general, that would mean some kind of an allegiance, some kind of a protection, some kind of or a form of support. And when we speak about the wali, which is the plural of it is awliya, it is simply that somebody is protecting or giving that support to another person. And it doesn't necessarily refer to only a person that is supported by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can also be a person that is supported by other family members. And support can be in different ways. It can be in giving support in ideas, can be in giving support in money, can be giving support in political support. All those different things are basically considered as the support that you can give a wali. So they're awliya shaitan. All right, they're those that are awliya shaitan. The shaitan is their wali, meaning that the shaitan himself is giving them the support that they want, maybe with ideas, maybe with giving some kind of a الشياطين يوحون إلى أوليائهم. Shayateen would give those inspirations to those that they guard. So those are protecting with ideas, protecting probably with money from other people that come and consider that particular idea or work towards a certain cause. So therefore they would probably support financially or even support each other politically, etc. And it's so sad. I must admit, I just have to say this right now, since we come across the wali, is that it's so sad to see that the Muslims have totally lost the definition of il-wala. Il-wala, and the word wala actually also comes in connection with this wali word. Il-wala is when you have your pledge, when you have your allegiance towards a certain group. And it's so sad that we could see a lot of the Muslims have become so patriotic towards a certain race, nationalism, even if it is a kafir area, over Islam and over Muslims. It's like you don't give up on your Islam in order to seem patriotic or to give up on your Islam to accept another identity. You have to consider your Islam as your main and your first identity over any other identity. So we're seeing a lot of Muslims that are rushing to prove that they are as British as other Brits, or that they are African as other Africans, or they are probably Egyptian, or what is the word, American. The list goes on and on. It's like, your first wala, your first pledge is supposed to be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that materialistic type of pledge is based on jahiliyyah. Any type of a pledge, any type of an allegiance, any type of a unity that is based on a materialistic cause is actually jahiliyyah. Simple as that. Even if that pledge was for your own tribe, even if that pledge was for your own tribe, you need to give that pledge up. It doesn't mean that you should not be considering yourself as part of a particular tribe, but it just tells you that we need to consider what is your priority. Who really do you consider as the main source of your protection? All right, now we go to box 15. And box 15, I want you guys to pay attention here, because we're going into, two boxes together. All right. And it's really simple, so bear with me here. We're just going to color a few items just so that you would actually see it. All right. And what you see right here is a pattern. I want you to follow this rhythm. All right. We're going to look at this rhythm, and we're going to look at that rhythm. All right. This rhythm, you could see the word fa'ala right here and the word fa'ala right here. All right. So in general, let's just say maybe 85% of the words in Arabic, if you deconstruct them into going through a three-lettered word. All right. So you can deconstruct most or 85% of the words in Arabic into a three-lettered verb, and this three-lettered verb actually builds, and then you will build on it new meanings. Well, let's see. So you've got the verb here is a three-lettered root, and look at the rhythm. Everybody follow along the rhythm. The rhythm goes, if you are adding a ya, here's the ya. If you're adding a ya right there and right there, that would mean it's right now becoming a present verb. All right. This would be the past. This would be the present. This would be the past. This would be the present. But I would like you to pay attention, because the present for this group and this group are slightly different. So remember the rhythm. Yaf'al. Yaf'al. The rhythm yaf'al, in whether the ya, the fa, and then we're going to use that as a rhythm. So when we say, for example, let's take this word yajma. Yajma. All right, here's yajma. So when we look at this, this would be considered, let's put in the pattern, and we're going to put in that pattern, we're going to put in that rhythm and actually see what it looks like, okay? So here's yaf'al, and you're going to put in. So the ya would be here, the fat would be in parallel with the jim, the ayn would be the meme, the lam would be the ayn. All right, so now we've got that rhythm where the fa of the verb has a sukoon. So the jim would also have a sukoon. So when we say the fa of the verb, that would mean that it's the second letter after the first, of course. Well, yeah. All right, if we say the ayn of the verb, it doesn't necessarily mean this ayn, but it means the ayn of the verb that we're talking about, that we're trying to work on, which is indicating the meme in this word. If we say the lam of the verb, this would be referring to the ayn, at least in this example. Let's take another example and actually see what we're talking about. So we're just going to erase this really quick, and you're going to see that pattern again. This is really important because every single time you come to realize these patterns and how they work, and that's exactly what we do in deconstructing and creating that conjugation. So when you look at the ayn of the verb, which is right here, the ayn of the verb in this word is the ta. The ayn of the verb in this word is the ayn. The ayn of the verb in this verb is the ayn as well. The ayn of the verb in this word is the meme, the ha in this word, and so forth. Now you got the hang of it. All right. But you want to be careful is that the ayn of the verb in this column is actually maftuha, is actually with a fatha, versus the ayn of the verb in this column is actually with a dhamma. So this is yaf'al and this is yaf'ul. And that's a pattern that we need to focus on. This is just really simple math. This is not like physics. All right, this is really simple. Yaf'al and yaf'ul. So let's go on with the column. All right, here's the past of the verb. Fa'ala, fataha, ba'atha, ja'ala, jama'a, dhahaba, rafa'a, sahara, salaha, la'ana, nafa'a, and we'll get to that one later. All right, now this one. Nasara, balagha, taraka, hashara, حكم خرج خلد خلق دخل ذكر رزق. Now here's one thing that you want to be careful about is that, you know, the good news is that for the past verb, it's actually always pretty straightforward in where it's in the rhythm of fa'ala. Remember, fa'ala. You got to remember that rhythm and get to it. All right. Now for the present tense, you want to remember that there's the ya that it will start with, so that makes it easy. So here's the ya that it starts with right there. But then the ayn of the verb can have either a fatha, like that one, or a dhamma, like that one. And let's see how we're going to do it. All right, so here we go. This is the past, and this would be the present. So the present can have two forms. One form in where the ayn of the verb, remember, which is the third letter, having a fatha like that one, or the ayn of the verb can have a dhamma like that one. And that would make it a present tense. Yaf'al, yaftah. This is talking about every single verb that it is actually present. Yab'ath, yaj'al, yajma', yadhhab, yarfa', yashar, yas. Or it's actually yasluh, yaslah, okay, yal'an, yanfa' and yansur. Now we're going, the ayn of the verb is actually with a dhamma. Yansur, yablugh, yatruk, yahshur, yahkum, yakhruj, yakhlud, yakhluq, yadkhul, yadhkur, yarzuq. Now look at that. All these are present. And we're going to talk about the meanings later, but first we have to learn how to deconstruct it, and then we'll talk about how to construct. First, we have to learn how to deconstruct. If'al, this would be the imperative form. So this is an imperative form would mean that it's giving an order. But notice here that again, what is that called? Now you're getting right there. Here's that I, the beginning of it. That's an imperative. All this column right there is basically imperative form. It's giving you an order, what is called in Arabic an amr. Sighat al-amr would mean an imperative form. All right, this imperative form can have two types of imperative forms in a pattern or in a rhythm of if'al or uf'ul. You gotta remember that. You know, I remember as a young girl, we were always spending time of fa'ala, yaf'alu, fu'lan, fi'lan, etc. You have to memorize that pattern, that rhythm. If'al would give me that pattern. Any word that has the pattern of if'al, that would mean it's giving you an order to do something. What? We'll get to that later. Now we're learning how to deconstruct. Another type of an imperative form is uf'ul. Let's see the difference. Let's see the difference in how they sound. If'al, iftah, ib'ath, ij'al, اجمع اذهب ارفع اسحر اصلح اصلح okay, it's supposed to be islah, but il'an infà. All right, now let's go for the rhythm of uf'ul. Unsur, ublugh, utruk, uhshur, uhkum, اخرج اخلد اخلق ادخل اذكر ارزق. So all those with that pattern of two different types of patterns, in where the first pattern is uf'ul and the second pattern is if'al. Remember the rhythm. Remember the rhythm. The rhythm of fa'il, that sounds like fa'il, that would basically be the person that is doing the object, the person that is performing the verb, that particular verb which is in here. All right, that person that is performing that verb is basically in the pattern, in the rhythm of fa'il, fa'il. So how would it sound like? Well, look at this one. Fatih, ba'ith, جاعل جامع ذاهب رافع ساحر صالح لاعن نافع. The good news is, even in this situation, the person that is performing the verb still has the same type of rhythm, and it sounds like فاعل ناصر بالغ تارك حاشر حاكم خارج خالد خالق داخل ذاكر and رازق. Well, that's really easy because, again, the verb, the part, or at least the rhythm for whoever performs the verb is basically the same. So we agree on that one, and it's not hard. Now, here's the part that comes a little bit tricky, which is what comes as an adjective or an adverb. What does an adjective and adverb mean? So it's basically what describes a noun, that's an adjective, and what describes a verb is an adverb. So when we look at fath or fi'l, that would mean that this is what is describing this particular verb. So when we say fataha would mean to open, but fath is victory. You're like, okay, how does that come with that? Well, remember, fath would be the actual description of the verb, which is why we call it an adverb. So the actual description here is basically the verb that you bring here with it. All right, so fath. But unfortunately, you know, it's not that, always straightforward because you could see that sometimes those adverbs or adjectives are not as regular as we see in these columns. They're not always that regular, and that's why you're going to see a number of irregular conjugations in these columns, and you will see how not really in the form that we found in these patterns. And that's why you're going to see that distinction. You're going to see that difference in where fi'l would be generally that adverb slash adjective, but here you could see that fath, well, wait a minute, it didn't have a kasra. It's not fit, but it's actually fath. Like I said, they're irregular, so the best thing to do is really memorize at least these columns in how they are conjugated and how the adjective and the adverb comes from it. So you don't have that many verbs, but it would be very important to memorize at least these irregular conjugations for this particular situation, which would be an adjective or an adverb. But it's really important to at least recognize the root of that verb, which would be going back to 3. So let's read those and see how it goes. So they've got here, they put them for you in the two similar patterns, but you're going to see that they don't necessarily follow that same rhythm, but we're going to read it despite. All right, so fi'l is supposed to be the let's say the most common adjective slash adverb type of rhythm, but then that's not what we necessarily will always find. So fath is an adjective or an adverb, sorry, here. Bath, a bath is basically an adverb. Ja'al, an adverb. Jam'a, adverb. Dhihab, adverb. Raf'a, adverb. Sihr, an adjective. Sihr, an adjective, because it's describing right here, it's going to be describing a noun. Maslaha, now you're like, okay, how does that relate to the first rhythm in the first column? And that's why I said they don't always go with the same pattern, so just beware. La'an, la'an, la'an. Sorry about that, I smell burning. La'an is basically not also following, because that one would be the burning, sorry, I'm smelling something burning, and I said, instead of rhythm, I said burning. Nafra is also, look at those are two similar patterns, and you could see that you've got a number that are similar patterns. So you could see it actually, we should add that one with it too. You could see some with a similar pattern, but just keep those in mind that they don't always follow the same pattern when it comes to an adjective. All right. And all right, now the other column, same thing, in where you could see that there's a different pattern as well. Let's read those words. Nasr, bulugh, tark, hashr, hukm, khuruj, khulud, khalaqa, dukhul, dhikr, rizq. Now you will see some of them actually follow a similar pattern. So let's just, really fast kind of just see. This one is fa'al, 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 fa'al. I'm giving here a pattern. Fa'al and fa'al, fa'al. All right, we're putting fa'al. We're putting those that have the fa'al, fa'al, fa'al. So those would be the ones to come with the pattern of fa'al, very common one. Okay, versus the ones that come with a pattern of fu'l, hukm, and let's see, not many. Okay, let's do now with the fi'l. Okay, so dhikr fi'l and sihr fi'l. All right, now let's do with the pattern that makes it as fu'ul. Now remember, we've got fu'ul, 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 fu'ul. Okay, we did it. So look at those patterns. So let's get just really quick, write those patterns and see what we got. So we had one pattern, we're going to write it down. We had the blues were sounding like fa'al. Is that right? Yeah, fa'al. And the pink was sounding like fi'al. And fu'ul were the oranges. Fu'ul. Okay? And those ones would be the fu'ul. And rizq, we've got fi'l. Oh, we forgot rizq is just like, what color was it? Is like pink. All right? So fi'l, here's that one too. All right? Maybe it would be good to take a screenshot of that. And look at the fi'al, and there's the dhihab. Got one right there. Maybe we could put that in black, or that was supposed to be black. Okay, let's do that one in, I don't know, dark green. Right, maybe it would be good to take a screenshot of that and just see those patterns. So fi'al, just like dhihab, fi'al. All right, now you've got a number of what will be an adjective or an adverb. Okay, so fi'al. So take a screenshot of that if you don't mind. Maybe I can take a screenshot of that myself. I know that this allows me to do so. So how do you do this? I know it allows me to do so. Okay, I got it. Yep, so we did it. So again, those would be the patterns. The patterns for an adjective or an adverb. Now let's see, all right, let's see when we actually do that. I'm gonna leave those, but we're gonna add the construction part of it. Let's do the construction part and actually start learning how to do that growth. All right, so let's see. The actual verb is going to be fa'ala. All right, the present. Let's do it right here. This is the present. This is the imperative, which means in order. And this is the person, the object. And this is the adjective / adverb, depending on the situation. All right, so we got those in place. Now, you're gonna put your eye on this one. You're gonna keep your mind and your focus. You're gonna put that in perspective. The actual origin of that word, which is in this situation fa'ala, which means to do. So the present would be doing. Imperative would be do. The person doing it is the doer, even though that's not an English word, okay? But just to help you see what it looks like. Okay, the person that's doing something, there's no such word as a doer in English, but we're just, simple child term, the person that's doing, okay? And fi'l would be what is done. Now you see it? Let's do it. Let's do this one. Fataha would mean to open. I'm going to use a different color here. Okay, here's that one. Fataha would mean to open. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just do, so the person present. Fataha, and let's just, ing, even though not every single present verb is ing at the end, but, just to help us. Okay, fataha would mean to open. Yaftah, opening. Okay, yaftah, opening, or to open, because it can mean a short-term present or even on a long-term future present. All right, fataha, past, opened. Yaftah, opening or to open in a long-term present. Iftah would mean open. It's giving you an imperative, open. Fatih, which is the person. So fatih would mean the person that's opening that, whatever it is. Fatih, the person. Fath is the opening, the grand opening / victory. All right. Ba'atha would mean to resurrect or to raise. Ba'atha, to raise, resurrect. And yab'ath, to resurrect. Ba'atha, resurrected. Sorry, that was supposed to be ed. Resurrected. Ba'atha, resurrected. Yab'ath, to resurrect or resurrecting. All right, it's an actual present. Ib'ath, an imperative, resurrect, given in order. Ba'ath, the person that resurrects. And ba'ath is resurrection. All right, you can see it right there. Ja'ala would mean to make. Yaj'al, ja'ala would means made. Made, okay, sorry, bad English. Ja'ala, made. Yaj'al would mean to make or making. Ij'al, make. Ja'al, maker. Ja'al is basically what is made, the adjective or adverb of it. What is made, the things that you made. Jama'a would mean to combine, to gather, to collect. Jama'a, made or collected. Or sorry, not made, but combined. Combined or collected. Yajma', to collect or collecting, because it's a present. Ijma' would mean combine, collect. You're making here in order. Jama', the person that's collecting. All right, the person that's collecting. Jama' is basically the collection. You look at that. Here's the adjective, adverb. Let's see, dhahaba. Dhahaba, went. Dhahaba, went. Yadhab, go or is going. To go, going, etc. Yep. Idhab, go, given an order. Dhahib is basically the person that is going. Dhihab is the actual leaving, the actual going, that's leaving. All right, now we're getting an adverb right there. Rafa'a, to raise. All right, rafa'a, to raise. Yarfa'a, raising, or, so it's raising, or to raise. Now, again, it depends on whether you're talking about a short-term present, or whether, in other words, now, or whether you're talking about something that is a long-term, meaning in the very future tense. All right, so yarfa, or a long-term tense. Yarfa, long-term future tense. Okay, yarfa, and that would mean to raise or is raising, because the word rafa'a would mean to raise. Irfa is giving it an order, raise. Rafa, the person that's raising. Rafa, the actual description of how that type of raising happened. So rafa, the raising part, or the riser maybe. Sahara means to manipulate, bewitch. Manipulate, bewitch. Yashar, or Sahara would mean past, sorry. So Sahara would mean bewitched or manipulated. Yasharu, to mean is manipulating, to manipulate, or yasharu, manipulating, or to manipulate. Ishar, bewitch, given an order, make magic or manipulate others. All right, now it's giving you an order. Sahir, well, the person is called a magician. Sihr is magic. That's why it's an adjective. Salaha would mean to act righteously. Salaha, reconcile could also mean reconcile, to act righteously or reconcile. So let's just use the word reconcile because it's easier to put in this conjugation. Salaha, reconciliate or to act righteous. Yaslah, or yuslah, it's actually yuslah. Yaslah, so let's just keep that one like that. Let's just keep it like that, even though it's not actually right. Yaslahu, it's actually yuslahu. But anyhow, yaslahu would actually mean to reconciliate or reconciliating, or to put in righteousness in their behavior. Islah would mean, islah or islah would mean reconciliate. You're giving him an order. You got to reconciliate. You got to act righteous. Salih, which is the person that is righteous. Maslaha, even though it's a totally irregular compared to this these colors that we put forward as an adjective slash adverb. Maslaha would mean for your own benefit. You're doing something for your own benefit, for your own sake. What do they call that in? Forgot what they call that, but which is when you have conflict of interest. There you go. So there's that interest. Interest, you've got an interest, and that's why you're doing it. You've got an interest, and that's why we don't mean by interest, the bank type of interest. No, but the maslaha, in where it is for your sake, you're doing something for your sake or for a particular sake, not necessarily for your own sake, but it could be for a particular cause. That would be a maslaha. La'ana would, we're right here, la'ana would mean to curse. My mistake, la'ana would mean cursed, so past. Yal'an would mean is cursing, or to curse. Il'an, now it's giving you an order, curse. And by the way, curse is not, I don't know if in other English-speaking countries, the word curse does not necessarily mean to use profanity, but the word curse to mean that a person is regarded as not deserving, not having the right to not deserving sympathy or mercy, or not deserving compassion. So that's what la'na means. So when we say that shaitan is mal'oon, that shaitan is cursed, we don't mean by curse the spell, the magic spell, or curse to mean profanity or use any type of words, but the word curse was actually to mean to be distant from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right? La'an would be the person that cursed. La'an is the actual curse. Nafa'a would be, so here it is, nafa'a, to benefit. Yanfa', nafa'a, benefited. Yanfa'u would mean to benefit or benefiting. Infa', you're telling him to benefit. Infa', you got to benefit. Help others benefit from you. Nafa', the person that's helping. Nafa' is the actual helping. So nafa' is like what benefit are the benefit itself. All right. Should we go over this, or I think we should continue next week? I think that's enough for today, and I'm sure everybody is saturated by now. What is the name of the book? People are asking. The name of the book, you can actually go online. Let me just here first save this. You can actually go online and you can get, this is the second time people are asking me the name of the book. So they're basically the 80 commonly used words. You could see right there, 80 commonly used words in the Quran, and you can actually get it online for free. It's a PDF that was written by, I think his name was Abdurrahman Abdul Aziz, something like that. And it's available online, and it's in 13 pages, and we are already on, what page are we on? Okay, we are already on, I don't know. Well, looking at this section right here, we're already halfway, in fact, more than halfway. So, which is good news. Yep. We're on box 15, and next week we'll take boxes 16 and hopefully 17. And don't worry, this will get easier. Please, please listen to this video again. I will put it up on YouTube, inshallah. Listen to the video again, just so that you would get the hang of those rhythms, and that you will learn how to deconstruct in order to construct. This deconstructing/constructing method is the whole secret to understanding how to analyze and to break those words in the Quran, break them up into a smaller segment in order to bring about a bigger understanding. So everything, if you're able to deconstruct any complete block of information. If you're able to deconstruct it, then you're able to visualize it, then you're going to be able to put it together, then you're going to be able to form a whole understanding and a whole sentence or a whole philosophy. It's all about deconstructing to construct. All right, jazakumullah khairan, everybody. What Somebody's asking, sorry about that, I wasn't able to see it. Why is knowing the different patterns important? What is the difference between yaf'ul and yaf'al? Aren't they both present tense or forms? All right. What I think you don't mean yaf'al or yaf'ul. I think you, actually you do. Yaf'ul and yaf'al. So in terms of meaning, they mean the exact same thing, which is a present tense. But it's really important to remember these patterns because it will help you recognize those patterns and rhythms that you will find frequently in the Quran or even in Lugha Arabiya. And then you're able to recognize that this simply means a form, a present form or a past form. So in the situation or the question that you asked, they would actually mean the same exact thing. It's just that Arab tended to use different patterns at times with different words. So those are the patterns. So just remember the patterns that they will come in. So the present form will come in pattern A, pattern B. There's going to be more forms, but this is really quick. All right. So it's really important to see, it's kind of like, okay, what patterns will I find the present form in? Well, here's the first segment. There's actually more, but this is the first segment. So it's really important so that you can see the comparison and see the rhythm, and the rhythm will help you get to deconstructing those words. So memorizing it in a form of rhythm is a lot easier than actually memorizing the actual word. Because if you memorize a rhythm and a pattern, then you're doing some type of a classification. Once you put in a classification, then it would be easier to put those groups in these patterns and look at the patterns and memorize all those words that can be combined in that particular unity or that particular grouping, then actually memorize it as a singular form and then get lost. So once you have those type of classifications, it does actually make things easier for you to remember and down the road to be able to deconstruct. Why is there different two forms of present tense? There's actually more. That's just the way they spoke. They had different forms of present. They had different forms of like here you could see the adjective / adverb. They had different forms. These later these patterns were later deconstructed after the Arabic language was already spoken. So then other scholars of Arabic, and ironically, it's so ironic to say that a lot of those scholars were actually not Arabic. So when you look at Sibawayh, he was not Arabic. He was not an Arab, but a lot of these patterns were really put there to help those that were not Arab. And later, the Arab themselves, they've kind of lost connection with the authentic language and with the classical language. So the later scholars, the Arabics, the not Arabic to mean by nationality or race, but the scholars of the Arabic language, they started classifying the words and classifying the languages and deconstructing what already the Arab have already been speaking for thousands of years. But then later, it was really crucial in order to put a certain rhythm pattern in order to make sure that this is preserved. So that's basically it. So that's it. Jazakumullah khairan, everybody. If there's any question, I'd be happy to answer those questions. I know in the beginning you might be like, okay, this is harder than I thought, but inshallah it will get easier. We are taking physics, we're studying math, we study fractions, and fractions to me was the hardest thing ever. We study all these different things in universities. The least we could study is how to deconstruct the simple words in the Quran. It's just a couple of words, 36 pages, and you will get there, inshallah. Or actually 13 pages and 36 boxes. You'll get there, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan, everybody. I hope that wasn't hard. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How many people are finding it hard? Maybe I should ask that question. How many people are finding it hard? Make sense? Okay, good. Hamza, well, I know, Hamza, you've got an Arabic side, so I think I need to ask somebody that's not Arabi. So somebody that's not Arabi, please answer me. Did you find it easy and straightforward, just needing a little bit of math, or did you find it hard? Do you think I need to simplify this more or not? I'd be happy to hear an answer. Nobody wants to answer? Everybody's afraid? Don't worry, there's no grades. Or there are no grades. Sorry, bad English. Okay, I'm feeling a bit challenged, although I have been exposed to this before. So, well, inshallah, you'll get there. You just have to review. It's hard for me right now. So, Fatu, try as much as you can to listen to the videos again. I do put them on YouTube. So listen to the videos again and kind of give yourself, like a moment where you actually focus on the words and focus with me, and inshallah you'll get there. I promise you. I had 8-year-old kids that actually understood this, so you'll be able to understand it, inshallah. All right, assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm glad to see that some people are I didn't have a phone, so I'm behind. So if you don't have a phone, you're behind. I do have those on YouTube. So please, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll also find those videos on YouTube as well. And that's going to give you a chance to hear it over and over again. And perhaps you'll also be catching up, inshallah. All right. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. And jazakumullah khairan for joining. And see you all. Assalamu alaikum.